Ooh, actually. Yes. Yes. I grew up taking swim lessons at the YMCA. I think my mom had me in like the mommy and me classes at a younger age, and then stuck with it for many years. Um, was never like super pumped about any kind of like organized sport, uh, but I stayed with it long enough to like gain the skills really. But for me, my like love of water and really yeah, like where I really like engaged in swimming and felt really connected to it was more in natural spaces. Going to both of my parents in very different ways grew up very connected to swimming in oceans mostly, and so we grew up swimming, yeah, in the Pacific Ocean, swimming in Maine, swimming in lakes and rivers. Like wherever I was, it felt like once I get in the water, that's when I've like really arrived. So those like informal spaces were where my connection to water really formed. Hi, my name is Chandrika Francis, and I am the founder of Oshun Swim School. I have been interested in environmental education for about the past 7 or 8 years. And it took me a long time to really come to that because I was like, no, that's not a real job. Like, what can I do with that? I also like just didn't see myself there with the people I saw in the environmental world. But when I finally just like stopped trying to fight it, I found that I really loved it, and particularly working with young people and young people of color and supporting them to feel at home when connected to the earth, and understand how deeply that is connected to their identity and who they are and who we all are. And so I've been doing that for about 7 or 8 years in different capacities. And for the past 2 years, I have been working with that same element, but with water, with Oshun Swim School. And it feels very similar. It's a lot of similar challenges around, histories of fear and violence around being connected to water or being connected to land. And at the same time, there's that similar feeling of just so much growth that is possible, and so much beautiful history and connection to ancestors through being connected to water. So I've really felt excited to apply this way of teaching and learning when thinking about decolonizing environmental education. Applying that to teaching swimming has been a really fun and really rewarding and beautiful journey. So Oshun Swim School is a program that really centers the needs of Black women and non-binary people, as well as other folks of color. And it's really in response to the reality that there has been a lot of trauma there. And so that when we're learning to swim, it really needs to be trauma informed. And it also is really based around our cultural and spiritual connections to the earth and to water, and by bringing in those elements, that swimming can be certainly about the skill and also way deeper, and when it feels like a safe space, can really blossom into so many other things, as well as learning how to swim. So some safety tips I definitely recommend with water. Well, not even recommend, this is like non-negotiable. Don't go swimming by yourself ever. Like, always make sure there's someone else there, and someone else who can support you if you need help in the water. So someone who's comfortable in the water. Also, I really recommend always having some kind of flotation device that can be used if someone's in distress in the water. Because even if you're a strong swimmer and you don't have a flotation device, someone who you're trying to help can easily pull you down, and now you have two people in trouble instead of one. So don't jump in water that's deeper than you can stand to try to save someone, even if you're a strong swimmer. Make sure you have a flotation device. But mostly in terms of like prevention, I would say make sure there's someone who is always in charge of watching, particularly if you have kids. Have a designated adult who's just always scanning and really taking that seriously, because it can happen and things can go wrong in such a short amount of time. So really making sure that you know, you're not like on the phone watching, but like really actively watching. Other safety things, if you're in open water situations, like particularly I'm going to say like an ocean beach, where there are currents that can pull you out and can really change. You can go to a beach one day and it can be very calm and safe, and the next day or even later in the same day there can be strong currents. So really like watching the water before you get in for like 5 minutes, you know, like really just watching it, because it can change very quickly, and noticing just noticing if it's rough or if the wind is pulling folks out, just being aware of that. If you're like getting really excited about jumping off into water and it's not clear water, I suggest swimming around in the water first. Make sure there's no like sticks or anything poking up. That's a common way that folks hurt themselves. And the other thing with flotation devices, because we can get really comfortable on our blow up things floating out, I really suggest that you don't go anywhere like on an inner tube or flotation device that you wouldn't go without it. So if it's too deep for you without it, then it's too deep for you, unless you have a life jacket, you know, something like that. But without a life jacket, just think of where you're comfortable without a flotation device. That's your limit right there. For beginners, I would say the biggest sort of like threshold in terms of comfort in water is around getting your face in the water and getting comfortable with your breath. And so that is something you can practice anywhere in your bathtub. And you can start even just by splashing water on your face and practicing exhaling out of your nose. So if you breathe in your mouth and then exhale out of your nose as you're splashing water on your face, that is the type of breathing you do when you're swimming, which is exhaling, blowing bubbles out of your nose when you're underwater. And you can practice that at the beach or pool as well, taking a breath in your mouth, going underwater, and exhaling out of your nose. And when that can take quite a bit of time for some folks, so with patience, but when that becomes comfortable, a whole new world of water comfort kind of opens up for you. So that's one thing to practice.